My dream for Shaq was for him to be the best of all time. That wasn't his dream. That's a problem when you want something for someone more than they want it for themselves. I fought a lot more with Shaq because he didn't want to do what he needed to do to be the best.
You felt like he could have been even better.
He could have been the greatest of all time.
Gary Vitti just dropped a truth bomb that flips the whole Shaquille O'Neal story upside down. This isn't some hot take artist chasing clicks either. This is the man who worked side by side with Shaq for 8 years, through pain, pressure, and 3 championship runs. According to the longtime Lakers trainer, Shaq had everything lined up to be the greatest player ever, no debate. But he made a different choice. And let's be clear, this isn't coming from a random critic or a salty former teammate looking for attention. This is Gary Vitti, a Lakers lifer with 32 seasons in the building and 8 championship rings to prove it. The same guy who helped keep Magic Johnson moving during Showtime and patched Kobe Bryant together through 2 decades of non-stop battles. He watched legends rise, crack, and sometimes fall apart right in front of him. Vitti didn't just observe greatness, he lived next to it every single night. From Jerry West's championship blueprint to the modern dynasty years, he saw what separates real legends from guys who just flirt with it. So when he talks about Shaq, it hits different because he knows the line between raw talent and all-time greatness better than almost anyone alive. Gary Vitti became one of the most recognizable faces in basketball without ever taking a jump shot. The bald head, the white mustache, always locked in on the sideline. 13 head coaches, 12 finals trips, from Magic and Kareem all the way to Kobe's final game. If you wanted to understand how the Lakers stayed elite for decades, you had to understand Gary Vitti. He even put it all down in his book, 32 Years of Titles and Tears from the Best Seat in the House. But a recent podcast appearance revealed something even heavier. He broke down the real difference between talent and greatness, between potential and sacrifice. And what he said made people uncomfortable for a reason. Here's the part nobody likes to say out loud. According to Vitti, the most physically dominant player the NBA has ever seen left championships on the table. Not because he couldn't win them, but because he didn't always want to pay the full price that greatness demands when nobody's watching. Vitti worked closely with 2 of the most intense superstars the league has ever known, Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. Both champions, both icons, but their mindsets couldn't have been more different. And according to Vitti, that gap explains why one became a myth and the other still carries a giant what if.
I fought a lot more with Shaq because he didn't want to do what he needed to do to be the best.
Imagine a trainer clashing with a player not over injuries or rehab, but over effort and commitment. Vitti had front row seats to Shaq's most dominant stretch from 2000 to 2002. 3 straight championships where Shaq looked unstoppable on paper and on the floor. Shaq was putting up video game numbers in the finals. 38-16 against Indiana, 33-15 against Philly, 36-12 against New Jersey. With clutch shots coming from Robert Horry and Derek Fisher, the dynasty looked untouchable. But even at his absolute peak, Vitti noticed something missing. Here's the number that tells the whole story: 29.7. That's Shaq's scoring average during his 2000 MVP season. He led the Lakers to 67 wins, grabbed his only regular season MVP, and looked unstoppable. But as Vitti put it, that wasn't Shaq giving everything. That was Shaq giving enough.
My dream for Shaq was for him to be the best of all time. That wasn't his dream. That's a problem when you want something for someone more than they want it for themselves.
This is where the conversation starts making people uncomfortable. We're talking about a player who won 4 championships, took home finals MVP honors, and dominated the league at the highest level for 3 straight years. On paper, that resume screams greatness, no argument. Shaq still ranks 9th all-time in scoring, even though he walked away from the game more than a decade ago. By every standard metric, Shaquille O'Neal was elite. But Gary Vitti is saying something far more explosive. Shaq wasn't just great, he could have been greater. He could have been the greatest ever, and the only thing standing in his way was himself. So what does greatest of all time actually mean in basketball terms? Michael Jordan played 15 seasons and won 6 championships. LeBron James has gone 21 seasons strong with 4 titles. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar lasted 20 seasons and collected 6 rings. Bill Russell grabbed 11 championships in just 13 seasons. Every one of them stretched their prime as far as humanly possible. Shaq played 19 seasons and won 4 championships, but here's the issue. His absolute peak burned hot and fast. From his LSU Tigers foundation into the Lakers dynasty, roughly 1999 to 2004, Shaq was untouchable. After that, the drop-off started. And it wasn't because his body gave out, it was because of choices.
Why put his body through all of that when he didn't need to?
That's the uncomfortable truth at the center of this whole debate. Shaq was so physically gifted that he didn't need to squeeze every ounce out of his preparation to dominate. And when you can win while doing less, comfort starts to look real tempting. Gary Vitti's revelation goes even deeper, and this is where it gets dangerous. He's not just talking about workouts or conditioning, he's talking about dreams, about what drives someone to push past what's required and into what's legendary. Kobe Bryant had one singular dream, the same dream Vitti believed Shaq should have had. To be the greatest ever. Everything else came second. Comfort was the enemy. Pain was a tool. Obsession was the price of entry.
Talent is the most overrated thing in life.
Sure.
It's what you do with your talent.
Vitti explained that this mindset is what Kobe taught him over the years. It wasn't Kobe's talent that separated him. It was what he demanded from himself when nobody was watching. And when you put that next to Shaq's approach, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. According to Vitti, Shaq taught him something completely different.
Laugh a little each day and laugh at yourself. Okay? Your dreams are yours. They're not mine or anyone else's.
On the surface, it sounds healthy, even balanced. But in the ruthless world of championship basketball, it explains everything. Shaq was content with being great enough. He wasn't haunted by the idea of leaving something on the table, and the numbers back it up. In 2001, at just 28 years old, Shaq averaged 28.7 points and 12.7 rebounds. Still dominant, still unstoppable when locked in. But Phil Jackson was already noticing cracks. Jackson once described asking Shaq about Wilt Chamberlain's greatest achievement. Shaq answered by pointing to the 50 points per game season. Wrong answer. The real feat was averaging 48 minutes a night, playing every single minute of every single game. That question wasn't trivia, it was a challenge. Because the greatest players don't just dominate when they feel like it. They show up every night, no excuses. But here's where the story gets more complicated. Because Shaq had a different definition of success, and maybe that isn't wrong, just different.
But Shaq's dream was to inspire young people to follow their dreams and be whatever it is that they want to be. And he has done that. He is the best.
So who's right? The trainer who wanted Shaq to sacrifice everything for basketball greatness? Or the player who chose to be great at basketball while building something bigger than basketball? That's what makes this conversation so fascinating. Vitti isn't attacking Shaq, he's explaining him.
I love him. As much as I thought that he underachieved on the court, and he was a great achiever. We won 3 rings together.
But you felt like he could have been even better.
He could have been the greatest of all time.
And when someone who won 3 championships with you uses the word underachieved, that tells you just how high Shaq's ceiling really was. There's one more layer most people miss, and it's the position factor. Vitti explains that big men experience greatness differently than guards.
But you take a little guy, you put him in the gym with a basketball and a hoop, he's a gym rat. He'll stay there all day. He'll make believe he's Kobe Bryant in his head, taking last-second shots. He'll work on his skills and all that. What's a big guy gonna do? He's gonna go stand under the basket, he's gonna do the Mikan drill, okay, left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. It's boring.
Guards can rehearse greatness. They work on moves, shots, and moments. They live in imagination and turn it into muscle memory. Big men, especially centers, live in a more limited practice world. Their dominance is raw, physical, and rooted in size and power. So maybe Shaq's approach wasn't laziness at all. Maybe it was efficiency. Maybe it was intelligence. And that question might be the most uncomfortable truth of all. So the question becomes simple but uncomfortable. Why torture yourself perfecting skills you don't actually need when your natural gifts are enough to dominate? Teams literally had to invent the hackish strategy, fouling him on purpose because they had no other answer. Even then, Shaq still bullied defenses, but sometimes even that wasn't enough. The breaking point came in the 2004 finals against Detroit. The Pistons didn't have a single player who could stop Shaq one-on-one. What they had was discipline, conditioning, and relentless team defense. Shaq averaged 26 points and 10 rebounds in that series. Solid numbers, respectable numbers, but not legendary numbers, not championship ceiling numbers. After that loss, everything unraveled fast. The tension with Kobe exploded. Phil Jackson walked away. The dynasty collapsed. Shaq was shipped to Miami, and the Lakers era was officially over. Yes, Shaq won one more championship in 2006 with the Heat, but let's be honest, that was Dwyane Wade's team. Shaq was no longer the unstoppable force at the center of it all. He was the supporting star, still important, still respected, but the torch had already passed. By then, Shaq was 34 years old. His window to be the best player on a championship team was closing fast. And here's the part people don't like to talk about. That massive frame took brutal punishment for 19 seasons. 7 feet tall, over 325 pounds in his prime, toe injuries, knee surgeries, a broken hand, and eventually his Achilles giving out at the very end. "I'm doing bad. I'm hurting. I can't play like this," Shaq told the Los Angeles Times late in his career. All those years of choosing comfort over conditioning finally caught up. His body broke down earlier than it had to. Other legendary big men lasted longer. Kareem played until 42, Tim Duncan until 41. Shaq retired at 39 because his body simply couldn't carry the load anymore. So maybe Gary Vitti was right. Maybe better conditioning would have extended Shaq's prime. Maybe it would have added more championships. Maybe it would have locked him in as the undisputed greatest center ever. But here's what truly separates Shaq from everyone else. He doesn't seem to regret any of it. Not even a little. He built a business empire worth over $500 million. He's inspired countless young people through his foundation. And today, he's one of the most recognizable and loved personalities on inside the NBA. Shaq achieved his real dream, not the dream others projected onto him. When critics questioned his work ethic, his response was simple: "I don't have to work that hard to do what I need to do." That wasn't arrogance. That was self-awareness. He knew exactly how much effort was required to reach his goals, and he gave that much. No more, no less. That's why Gary Vitti's revelation hits so hard. It's not really about basketball. It's about the gap between external expectations and internal motivation. It's about choosing between being the best you can be and being the best at what actually matters to you. Shaq chose happiness over obsession, balance over sacrifice, community over isolation, and he still won 4 championships and earned over $300 million in salary alone. By any reasonable standard, that's not underachievement. That's just a different kind of achievement. But basketball greatness isn't reasonable. When someone has tools like Shaq had, anything less than absolute obsession feels like wasted potential. Gary Vitti spent 32 years watching players make that choice. He saw Magic Johnson play through injuries that should have ended careers. He watched Kobe Bryant tear his Achilles and still knock down free throws. He witnessed the sacrifices that turned champions into legends. And then he saw Shaq choose a different path. Still dominant, still successful, still beloved, just not legendary in the way he could have been. As Vitti said, that's not criticism, that's recognition. Maybe Shaq's legacy isn't about what he didn't become. Maybe it's proof that greatness comes in different forms, and that you can dominate basketball without letting basketball dominate you. If this story made you think, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives like this, share this with a real basketball fan, and drop a comment telling us where you rank Shaq all time. We'll see you on the next one.